Give this a second. There. So I'm streaming this in two places at once, and I don't know. I think a lot of people have seen me stream and go live or do recordings that are going to get edited, but this one's very different than what I am used to doing, and it's because all of the all of the videos I've ever done before, or shared before, or tagged before, I felt like we're coming from a very positive place, and this one is coming from a positive place. It's just there's a lot of negativity around it. So, yesterday I posed a question that asked what other people thought their biggest character flaw was, and I got some great responses. And some of the responses I looked at and I said, "Man, that would be amazing if that was my biggest character flaw." So, and I'll jump in and I'll probably jump around because I didn't really rehearse this how I was going to put it all out there, because what I wanted to do was be a little bit more genuine, because my character flaw can keep me from being genuine sometimes. Even when I want to be, it can make me feel scripted somehow, or I need to win. And so I threw a hint out there, and it's in my opinion one of the biggest and nastiest character flaws out there, because in my opinion, this character flaw is abusive. It's abusive to other people, and typically the people who are abused by it are the people that you love or care for most. So, I have been reading a lot. Someone brought it to my attention that they believed I was a narcissist, and this person is one of the closest people to me in all of my life, and has been, and hopefully will remain to be. So that it was a little bit of a difficult thing to hear, and immediately, because I'm not a narcissist, when I was told that, the immediate things that came to my mind were how to defend that and tell them that they were wrong, and to blame and to coerce and to push ideas around that. And in that very moment, at I'll be 48 years old in a week and a half. In that moment, I realized that for 48 years that it's likely true that I've been a narcissist, or at least had narcissistic traits, and I've done a lot of reading and research on it since this was told to me. But narcissists typically don't admit they are. So my initial reaction was to be defensive and say that's not true and it's not possible. So now, as I look and I look at other people, and I'm going to jump here real quick just because, like I said, I don't really know my overall format. I'm going to try to keep this relatively quick, but I think maybe it's not important for anyone else, but this is maybe the most important video I've ever done for myself, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. But some of the other people that are good friends of mine. First and foremost, I want to call out Dale Phelps, who was like, "That's pretty cool, whatever. Why would you do that though, and throw yourself under the bus?" And my business coach asked me that question in a little bit different way. He said, "What do you have to gain from this?" And I wrote it in the narrative in some description. I don't know exactly how it was written, but I basically said, "Here's what you have to gain from admitting something that you hate about yourself or that you wish were different, and that is admitting it, owning it, and broadcasting it are, in my opinion, a phenomenal way to put it out there in the universe that you want to eradicate yourself from it." So, of all of the character flaws or character disorders, if you will, that you could write down for me, I would rate narcissism as possibly the worst. And I talked about that because I think it is an abusive style of living. It's abusive to the people that should matter to you most, or do matter to you most, and you become a manipulative person when you allow the narcissism to take over. And I have in many instances, and I even have a few examples here very recently. But Sandy said that, like, I also like to hear what other people's character flaws are, because there are a lot of very good friends of mine that don't have a narcissistic bone in their body, and it's foreign to them. And until yesterday, or until the last couple days, that was me. I was not a narcissist. I was just right. I like to be right, and I like to win, and I like to battle, and I like to argue, and I like to dispute, and sometimes I do that in a way because my friends and I think you can be cerebral and respectful and do that in that way. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the narcissistic behavior where you manipulate, you have to be right, you treat people and convince people that the problems that are there are their fault, even when they're not. So those are the things that shamefully enough I have been guilty of and am guilty of. And so when Dale asked me and when Hank asked me why on earth you'd want to come on a live video where you try to be positive all the time and admit those things, it's because the positivity that you get out of that is, one is you get to make an apology of some sort, as hollow as it may be, because you can apologize for anything, but if the traits or the activities don't change, then it's hollow and it doesn't matter. But with that said, for me, if I admit this very openly and very publicly, then it's like the reticular activating system that I talk about sometimes, and that is your focus becomes that. It is you have the capability of preventing yourself from doing those things that you may otherwise have been so comfortable doing. I talk about neural pathways in the brain and what happens when we do certain things a certain way, a certain number of times. That's what creates a habit. And that habit is actually a physical neural pathway in the brain. And when we get used to these neural pathways in the brain, like driving your car home, you don't need to think about the direction. Your brain can do it for you. And so I think about this in terms of the narcissistic behaviors that I display, and that is I can do those without thinking because I have created neural pathways in my brain to justify, and I wrote some words down that I thought were pretty key, but justification is a huge thing for a narcissist. I can justify just about anything I do, right or wrong, and I don't want to justify anymore. Win at all cost, defend everything, excuses, semantics, and I am a major player in the semantics game. The other reason that I wanted to kind of put this out there was something my business coach talks all the time, a lot of the time I should say, is awareness and how it can be transformational. So in the last 48 hours, I've become aware of something that I wasn't exactly aware of before. Not to say that I shouldn't have been aware, but it was not brought to my attention until it was brought to my attention in a very bad way. So, and I'm thankful for that, by the way. That's the other thing about a narcissist sometimes is they want to be angry that something was brought to their attention, and this is something that I want to be very thankful for and grateful for, because this is not how I don't want to own those traits. So so back to the idea of the neural pathways and the RAS, where we say if I'm cognizant of what I'm doing, then I can change what I'm doing. If I allow it to just stay status quo, then I'll create those neural pathways in my brain, and it'll be a habit where I am condescending or I am abusive. Because to be perfectly honest, and you can spin this any way you want, if you are a narcissist and you treat people with the traits of a narcissist, then you are abusing them, and there is no slighter or lighter way to put that. So, that was one of the biggest and most important reasons for me to come on here and try to put that out there. But I want to go in a couple places real quick, because I think about Sandy Lynn, who's an amazing person. She's a firefighter and EMT and paramedic, and she works out. She got kids. She raises. She does all these amazing things. And she says, sometimes I can be condescending, and sometimes I do it on purpose. And sometimes I say things just to pour salt in the wound. And I thought that was really funny, because sometimes I look at the things that mesh together, and sometimes being condescending can be relative to the narcissism. Not that Sandy's a narcissist. I know her very well. I know her well enough to know that she's not a narcissist, and she's a very, very sweet person. But the next thing she did say was the worst trait would to be a liar. And I look at this too as a relative term, and I go, to be a liar. A narcissist is a liar, by the way. And it might not be a direct lie. It might be lie by omission. It might be skewing the truth. It might be skirting the truth. But if you're a narcissist, you are a liar by trade. And to explain that, when you're a narcissist, you're taking advantage of someone else's thought process, or you're manipulating, or you're somehow taking advantage and playing the game or playing the system, and that is a liar. So I look at these things. Doreen says that she has an amazing ability to detach from people, emotions, and situations. Great when it can help you, but terrible with relationships. And I also believe that when they say something nice to me or about me personally, I think they're lying or trying to trick me. I hate that. And then she went on to be pretty funny and says that she likes snacks. But this one really stood out to me because I asked the question, and I was hoping we could relate it all to narcissism. But when I read Doreen's, it was a different kind of relationship. And some of Sandy's character flaws, the way she mentions them, I could have a direct correlation with narcissism. When I read Doreen's, I look and I say, this is someone who could have been or may have been, and obviously I know nothing about psychology other than my own on occasion. So I can't diagnose anything. I can't be right here. These are opinions, and this is just me trying to make changes to where I can be a happier person and treat people that are the most important to me the way they deserve to be treated. So when I look at this, and she says she has an amazing ability to detach from people, emotions, and situations, I think about that, and I think about how many narcissists have possibly been in Doreen's life that have created a situation where she's felt like doing that. And so just those kind of thought processes, because it was something that didn't occur to me when I asked the question yesterday and I got these responses. So anyway, back to my admission of having narcissistic traits or possibly being a narcissist. Now, you have to be diagnosed to truly be a narcissist, so they say, but if you look deep down at yourself, you have the ability to recognize your narcissistic traits. And I want to share just a little tiny bit about some of mine. And I'm going to tell a story that something happened very recently, and some people may or may not know about it. And some people are friends on Facebook that have not talked about it, even though they may have been there. And I'm going to leave it at that and not name names or locations or people or situations, but I'll be 48 years old, like I said, on the 21st, so 11 days from now. And it's been a very, very long time since I've been in a physical altercation. A very long time. Now, when I was younger, I was in a lot of physical altercations. And I have some friends on here from the Marine Corps that can laugh about those physical altercations. And when you're in your very early 20s, those physical altercations are funny. And most of those were among friends or among other Marines. And I remember in Okinawa, I took a tooth out of a guy's head, and it was a very proud moment because we were 24 and stupid. Today, twice my age of then, I found myself in a physical altercation with someone that I have a lot of respect for, and we are very close friends. And I think we have a lot of mutual respect. And when I look at that, in that moment, I blamed very easily him for the entire situation. And I was angry. It was easy for me to put all that blame on him and fast forward to the exact reasons. And here's what happens with a narcissist. A narcissist has a very, very keen way of laying out the details and sharing the process from their point of view in order to win the argument. And so when I think about this and I think about that specific altercation, I feel very just. I didn't start the situation. I wasn't involved in the initial portion. So the easy part for a narcissist is to say, well, then I'm all good. But when I really dissect it and look at it, I go, I had as much to do with the altercation as the other person did. Um, Before I could say, well, I didn't take the first physical act, I was defending myself. When I look at it from the narcissistic point of view, there's a way, and I'm a man, and there's a way that I know to push a button without physically pushing a button to have a physical altercation. And so I will own that right now, and I will say that is because of my narcissistic behavior. Um, True, I did not make the first contact, and true, um, I think I was the calmer in the situation, but sometimes being calm is also a manipulative activity that creates a situation that when it goes out of control, you're able to disengage or somehow what's the word, somehow push the blame elsewhere. So that was just one, and there's one that's far deeper and far worse than that, and I'm not going to go into that one because it's very personal, and it's very painful, and it's very regretful. But I will say that that very personal and painful and regretful situation has been probably not yet. It probably will become one of my most thankful moments when you to find out that something's wrong, because or you're doing something wrong. Because like I said, I am 48 years old nearly, and the last thing I considered myself was a narcissist. Um, that's quite a revelation to understand that and to accept it and then to dive in. And so to go back to my business coach, Hank Avink, who I think is listening or watching, to go back to the discussion we had about why is it beneficial to come on here and do this, and I labeled them. I can't see my notes because I'm running my camera and this at the same time, but I labeled 4 reasons why it was very important for me to come on here and have this public display and apology. And that is, I don't want to be a narcissist, not because I'm worried about being judged. I have no qualms about being judged. I do enough things, and I'm opinionated and strongly enough opinionated that judgment is something that I live with in some regards. I am afraid of being judged by the people that I care the most about. And I think that's the difference in narcissism versus freedom or just being a bold person. And they're often confused. And I think that's why this is a revelation to me. Is days ago, if you would have asked me if I was a narcissist, I would have said no, I'm just very bold. And after events over the last few days, I realized that I am bold. And at times that's very healthy. Actually, it's almost always healthy to be bold. But I have used that excuse or that crutch as being bold, per se, when I was truly being a narcissist and I was truly manipulating a situation and I was truly using someone's specific words or feelings or thoughts against them to get my way. And that's what a narcissist does. So I had a lot of things that I wanted to say throughout the video, but I also didn't want to script it, and I also didn't want to have too many notes because I want it to be real, and I want it to be genuine, and I want it to be for me, and I don't want it to be another part of being a narcissist so I get it all right and I'm perfect and I sound good, because that's what we like to do, is polish ourselves up and put on our best face. So right now I just want to say, if there's a way for me to undo damage or hurt that I've caused someone because of any narcissistic traits, then that is my it's my goal. I had another word, but it escapes me. That's my desire. I don't know. Outside of that, I want to move forward without acting in those ways because I don't like to apologize. Unfortunately, you don't get to snap your fingers and say I'm better, because I know awareness is transformational. Being aware that I have narcissistic traits is very transformational in the sense that I can hopefully deter myself or catch myself or think about what I'm doing before I do it. However, those traits are still there. And what I don't want to do is be on here and say, well, now I'm all cured and I'm all better and I made amends, because I did not make amends. There are plenty of people that I will spend a lot of time in hopes of making amends to. So that was really my big purpose, and to ask other people what they thought their biggest character flaws or disorders were. If you're more curious, as I was today, when I started, my mind really couldn't let it go that someone had put it out there that way. My mind really took offense to the fact that someone, and how dare they say I was a narcissist. So once I got past that and I started to think again about how wrong they were, I wanted to look more. So there's some great, and I read about 5 hours of things about they call it NPD, the narcissistic personality disorder, where you get it from, how you get it. By the way, that's very interesting, and it's funny because my initial reaction is I'm not a narcissist. I don't have the narcissistic traits. Some people are out there probably watching me right now going, fuck yeah, dude, you're a narcissist. I always knew you were a narcissist. Okay, fair enough. I wasn't smart enough to see it. However, when I read some of the traits today and I started looking at things, I started laughing, and I even messaged someone that it kind of fit me to a T. Certain aspects of it, not every aspect. One thing I'm very proud of is a narcissist is typically lack of empathy. They're not very empathetic, and I will say that I like to think I'm very empathetic. However, the other big markers I scored pretty high on. So when I look at the overall picture, I go, what are the ways that I can prevent this, and especially the people I care about most, because again, that's where a narcissist thrives, is manipulating the people that they care about the most. And I don't know why, and as I read more, maybe I will find out why. But some of the things it said is they don't know where the narcissistic trait or behavior comes from, but they made a correlation to family and child-parent relationships. And the narcissist side of me got very happy because I could blame my parents because they were complete assholes. But in all fairness, you can't do that. And even if you could, that solves no problem. So I will work on this more, but anybody who would like to reach out to me about this, I would love it. If you want to call me a narcissist and tell me why you think I'm a narcissist, because we've known each other long enough, I would love to hear the story, because the way I view stories and the way you view stories and the way stories really happen are three very big different things oftentimes. So I am very interested to have the conversation with my friend who had the physical altercation with me, or I had the physical altercation, however you want to look at it. I am very interested to hear his personal perspective face to face, because I guarantee you that it's not my personal perspective. And I also guarantee you that he's not wrong and I'm not wrong, and they're somewhere in the middle. And that's the other thing about trying to overcome these things, is realizing the difference in how you can view things and how you can reconcile these things without manipulating and without diving in that direction. I've been on here a good bit, so nobody watches videos more than 3 or 4 minutes, so I want to end it. The last thing I'll say is something that Hank has told me time and time again, my business coach, like I said, Hank Avink. If you don't know him, look him up. He's a phenomenal person. He keeps my head on straight. And Dale Phelps is another one, and we talk all the time about these specific things. But one thing that he said a million times to me that I truly believe in is, I don't have to lose in order for you to win. And I think that when we can keep that in perspective, these narcissistic traits that we might struggle with, and I know that a lot of people probably don't struggle with it at all. It is something that I didn't realize I did, but now I do, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that that I deal with that, because I honestly think out of all the all the negative character traits that you could name for me, that would be the worst. And again, it goes back to the abuse and the manipulation of someone that you love very dearly. So, anyway, I hope that all that rambling did something for you guys. Maybe it didn't, but for me, it was about some accountability, some atonement, and hopefully some sort of apology, if you will, for those who have incurred the wrath of my narcissism. I will tell you that tomorrow, hopefully, will be a new day where I start to make, no, today, but every day, I want to start making different neural pathways in my brain to ensure that I am acting in a way that's appropriate to the people I love and I care about. So, anyway, that's it. I hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time I decide to throw a video up.